What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a while since the last time I did one, and tonight I'm sitting down with Chris, otherwise known as M Junkie on Instagram. I have Omar from Simply Car Things, and I have Jason Chin. And today we're going to be going over a couple topics, some car news that came out this week and last week, and talk a little bit more about it. I want to give an intro real quick. You guys know Omar, Simply Car Things. He's been on my podcast many times, and he'll be on the podcast pretty regularly from here on out as I start to get back to doing these. Chris, you there?
I am here.
Okay, cool. So Chris has been on a podcast before, actually. I don't know if we released... did we ever release that one? The one at my house with the UFC fight?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
2 months back.
Yeah, so, Chris has been on the podcast before. Jason, have you been on one? Yes, you have, actually. A couple of the track podcasts.
Frequent flyer.
There we go. Well, so let's dive right into it. Today's most exciting news was the Z06 unveiling. We finally got the pictures of it. We finally got the finalized numbers of it. Basically, everything was released today on Car and Driver. And they released it in, let me see, Car and Driver. Here we go. Some type of yellow color. Did they ever give a name to it? I don't know if they did. I mean, it's just like a regular Corvette yellow, racing yellow, or whatever the fuck they call it.
It's like the notorious Corvette yellow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. All right,
it's so like a yellow with like a little bit of like an acid green inside of it. Also.
Yeah, it almost looks a little bit like Sao Paulo yellow from the F80 M3s.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a flat plane crank 5.5 liter V8 engine making 670 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. It's got a dual clutch transmission and a lot more aggressive looking than the base model. Personally, I'm going to start it off by saying I'm not a fan of the looks. I've never been a fan of the looks of the C8, to be honest with you. Like everyone says, it looks like a budget Ferrari, and I agree. I think it really does. But, you cannot deny the performance that you're getting at, what was the starting price they said, 90 grand or something around there?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like between 90 to 95,000. I mean, you got to keep in mind it's probably going to be before even the dealer markup.
Yeah, of course.
This thing's probably going to reach over 100,000.
Yeah,
is what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, I think so for sure. I think Jason, you mentioned earlier, you think it'll be around 130, 140. It is Chevy and it's American, so hopefully the markup isn't too bad. But I mean, like we've seen the 992 GT3 with the $115,000 markup, which is absolutely insane. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. In the pictures, I don't know if you guys saw, but it has carbon fiber wheels. That's pretty dope. Usually they're pretty fucking ugly. What were you saying, Jason?
Yeah, it's the.
I feel like that's usually on the higher end, Fords and Chevys. I feel like that's the thing people sleep on with those cars is that they have the option for carbon fiber wheels.
Yeah. I've only seen them on...
That's a different package, too. That's a Z07 package, by the way, guys.
And, okay, gotcha.
So you get the wheels, the arrow, the carbon fiber arrow.
Yeah, like the GT350R, if I'm correct. That has an option for them as well.
Yeah, and then the M4 GTS had them as well. That car looked fucking ugly with those on it, too. I did actually like the one. Yeah, I did like the Ford GT350R's carbon fiber wheels with it. I think it flowed pretty well with that car. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
I mean, I think the car is, looks-wise, I'm definitely in agreement with most of, pretty much all your guys' opinions. Obviously, looks are very subjective, but I think, this car definitely still has that kind of budget supercar like look to it. It almost looks like one of those I don't know, this might be insulting, but it looks like one of those like replica kit cars that someone would try to make a supercar out of, and it just I don't know. At least that's my thoughts with the base C8. I think the Z06 definitely looks better. It definitely has more aggression to it. Obviously, the rear bumper design has changed. It has quad exhaust coming out the center now. Canards, the wing. It definitely helps to kind of like add some flavor to the design. But again, I think really the highlight of this car is definitely its powertrain, and that the fact that Chevrolet stuck with a naturally aspirated engine, contrary to the previous C7 Z06, which was supercharged.
Yeah.
So this is obviously being a flat plane, revving out to 8,600 RPM, 670 horsepower. Like, that is extremely impressive performance figures, and definitely hats off to the Corvette engineers for doing what they've been doing, and just turning this car into an absolute beast.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think when you look at the drivetrain of this car, the fact that it gets dual clutch combined with the fact that it's got a 670 naturally aspirated horsepower motor, that's just insane in today's day and age where everything's turbocharged and making less than that, really. The GT3, what does that make? Like 525, 550? I forget what the actual number is for that.
Yeah, I think it's even less, honestly.
Yeah,
like low fives.
The Ferraris are turbocharged, and even the SF90 is now hybrid, electric charged.
Mm-hmm.
Lamborghini's just keeping it OG as well right now with the STO Huracan. Right. But I don't think that makes anywhere near 670 horsepower. I could be wrong, though.
I think it's 640 horsepower, if I'm not mistaken.
Damn, that's a lot closer than I thought. That's pretty solid.
Yeah. But the thing is, we're talking $500,000 compared to what, 140K with a markup? Like,
exactly.
That's like leagues different in terms of price, but it seems like this Z06 is definitely going to be a pretty stout competitor against even some cars that are worth, 2-3 times its price.
Yeah, which is another good segue into my next, conversation about this car specifically is, earlier we were talking about cars in a similar price range, and the GT4 got brought up, and somebody had asked, if we thought the GT4 would be able to beat a Z06 on track, and I don't think it could have beat the previous gen, and I don't think it can beat the C8 now. I think you're really going to have to step up to the GT3, which is going to cost you, close to $300,000 if you want a new one, or over $300,000 really, which is insane. That goes back to, exactly what we're talking about. The Z06 is just an amazing bargain for the money that you're paying. It's really hard to see, or it's really hard to think of another car that can even come close with the performance aspect combined with the affordability of the Z06.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And real quick, just to add on to what you're saying, I think if you're somebody that is looking to purchase a Corvette, I think the Z06 is definitely going to be the way to go, especially if you can compared to the base model Corvette. This is just the Z06 from a performance standpoint clearly is a massive step up over the base model, and especially if you compare the powertrains. The standard engine in a standard C8 Corvette is just a pushrod V8. Like, it's really nothing all that special. It uses it's a relatively antiquated engine architecture. But when you look at what's in the Z06, like, it's very, very exotic. It's double overhead cam, flat plane crank. The oil sump has been revised entirely for track use. So it's a much more sophisticated power plant, and I think it's worthy of the Z06 name.
Yeah, for sure. With that, with the Z06 name comes a long list of cars that have legit been exactly how we were describing of the affordable supercar killer. So, and this is no different. I think this is taking it a step further, actually, and now we're getting into a car that can compete with hypercars now. Obviously we have to wait and see what it's capable on track of doing, but Chevy knows what they're doing, man. They've been racing for a long time. They've been creating these cars for decades now. So it's not going to be a slouch. I do not see this thing being a turd on track, but we'll see. Hopefully it gets in the right hands, and that way we can actually see what's capable of it, because most of the time it's not. These Corvettes don't really fall into the right hands. Let's not bullshit anyone.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think going back to your point, you guys were talking about it's going to be a lot of bang for the buck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think it's some numbers 0 to 60, 2.6 seconds, which that's pretty crazy when you think about it.
The SF90 does it in 2.35 or 2.4 or something. That's it's insane.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
So, that. And then, I was actually looking at some numbers too on the Z06. And I was just curious because I'm sure you guys saw all the video and the highlights from being in Germany on the ring, right?
Yeah.
And so there are no official numbers, but just to kind of give you an idea, I like to kind of think of this like the butt dyno. So you had a lot of people out there with spectators that had stopwatches.
Yeah.
Right.
So with traffic, they were getting like 712, right? So you can imagine without traffic, the potential this car can lay out.
Probably a sub-7 car.
Oh, for sure. Hell
yeah. So you think about that, the type of numbers it's putting in the ring, you look at the price, once the hype settles down, it's going to remind me something like when the GTR first got introduced to the market. I don't know if you guys remember the R35.
I wasn't a fan.
For the first couple of years, that thing was, whether you're a fan or not, but it was just so dominant, right? Like it was killing all supercars at the time. But eventually everybody caught up.
Yeah.
And now look where it's at, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of reminds me of that with the Z06. It's like so much bang for the buck, so much performance. In terms of the look, I'm not a big fan of the look. I'm okay with the front, but the rear doesn't do it for me. The wing doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
It's just, I don't feel like it flows. But again, I'm no engineer. These guys know what they're doing. So when they put it together, they got the result that they got because they know what they're doing. It's just, in my opinion, doesn't count, but it's just not my, the rear doesn't do it much for me. But I guarantee you, when you get in that car, if any of us has the opportunity to actually take one out for a spin, I don't think we're going to care about how the way it looks. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You're going to care about the way the thing performs.
Exactly. And then also another thing, we know Chevy has been known for having great drivetrains, or the Z06s specifically, great drivetrains, but having that Chevy interior, which is nothing but fucking plastic and cheap shit all over the place. This interior looks like they tried to spice it up with some carbon fiber, but honestly, I've never been a fan of the way the interior looked when it first came out. Like we talked about earlier, that whole row of buttons that it looks like literally like fucking 25 to 30 buttons going up a goddamn...
Yeah, it's such a
ruler.
Bizarre design.
I look at it, I'm just like, man, like who the fuck thought like that would be cool? I don't know, but the center display looks pretty nice. I'm looking at it. It's angled towards the driver. This whole car looks like it's angled. Everything's angled towards the driver to give you that sense of like, this is a driver's car. Everything is in your hands as the driver.
Very, very car, what do they call it? Driver focused.
Yeah, exactly.
Car, right?
Yeah.
But you have to think about, too, with all the technology it comes with, to think about all the power it puts down, right? And everything it's done so far.
Yeah.
It's got a ton of stuff in there. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
What we do today, we try to remove all the electric, all the technology that comes with, right? The info system. You talk about speakers, airbags, heated seats. So you have all the bells and whistles too on top of it. And so you try to create it. You know what I'm saying? So what we tend to do is try to take it all off, remove it, to make a lighter chassis, right? Lighter car.
Yeah.
To give us what we want. But this is a car that's been tested with everything on it, which is, for me, it's pretty wild to think, hey, I'm going to, turn on my heated seats. Let me turn on my sound system. Not a big fan of sound systems, but my whole point is that it comes with all the bells and whistles inside, and it still does what it does, which is pretty impressive.
Yep, and it's just dominant.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you think about like something like that's always been the formula with the GT cars, is they're just so good. You don't need to gut them. You don't need to do shit to them. You just literally take it to the track, beat on it, and drive it home. But that's seriously way more expensive than a Z06. So, yeah.
Pretty crazy. I was doing a little bit more reading on the car, and Corvette, or the car is going to be offered as standard with a 275 by 30 Pilot Sport Cup 2 up in the front, and in the rear, it's running a 345 from factory Pilot Sport Cup 2. So it's steamroller spec.
And that should be for the standard Z06?
That's for the standard Z06, right. Yeah.
I think the Z07 package is coming with the Cup 2Rs.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You get the carbon fiber wheels and the Cup 2R tires.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's...
Hold up.
Right, you go standard, you don't get all the aero, all the carbon fiber.
Yeah.
But once you step up to that package, and I forgot the price difference on it, but yeah, I mean, you're going to get a lot more, without
the
tires.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and I think if I was to order one, I would definitely go for like the Z07 or whatever, like all the performance packages are. It's a Z06 at the end of the day, you want it to be performance oriented. So.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to the tire package that you were talking about, the C7 Z06 wasn't too far off that. I don't think. I think what happened was they went with a bigger front tire on the C8 now that it's mid-engine, because it doesn't have that weight on the front end to give it that extra. What the hell's going on with my phone? To give it that extra traction up front now. So now they need the bigger rubber up front to help it balance itself out.
Right.
I mean,
that definitely makes sense. If you shift the powertrain towards the rear of the car, it changes up the weight balance.
Yeah, of course.
Use that rubber. Yeah, like the GT3s, they come with a 325 from factory.
Yeah, but then in the front they come with a fucking 235 for GT3 or 245, sorry, which is like, holy shit, what is this about? But that whole rear engine dynamic is a lot different than having a front engine or even a mid engine. So and Porsche's been doing it for just as long as the Corvette's been out, so they know what they're doing with the rear engine as well. Let's transition to talking about, since we keep on wanting to talk about fucking Porsches, let's talk about the GT4RS. Hold on, I'm going to play this real quick. Hopefully my mic picks up the audio of this lap, and more specifically the engine note, and we'll talk about why that's significant.
Hear it.
This is from the Porsche YouTube page, them going on the ring, setting that 706, right? 706? 704?
Yeah.
704 on the short. I guess it would be considered the short layout, and then 709 on the the classic layout, I guess it's called.
Yeah, exactly. Which is still impressive either way. But I wanted to emphasize that engine note because that sounds awful familiar to me. Jason, maybe you have some input on why that may sound awful familiar. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, 100%, it's, 100%, 99%, whatever you want to call it, identical to 0.2 GT4RS 4.0 motor, like 1-for-1 with induction noise.
Exactly.
In that video, I heard a little, of the solid mount diff mounts from factory. GT4RS has that as well. So I think it's just a direct transplant into a Cayman chassis, basically. So.
I wouldn't be surprised, dude. It's an RS. Porsche, I feel like when it comes to RS, they don't want any type of slander. They don't want any type of disrespect at all. If it's an RS, it needs to be the best, most cutting-edge drivetrain you can possibly get, as well as handling characteristics. And, like you said, I could not agree more. I seriously think this is going to get the 991.2 GT3RS motor, which is going to be fucking insane, honestly. The biggest complaint for most Cayman drivers was the lack of power and the gearing. I'm looking at this video right now, and it's revving to 9,000 RPMs, and it doesn't look like it's going any slower than GT3 or GT3 RS would reach 9K, which is pretty damn badass. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they got. Omar, you got any more info on this car?
Not a ton, honestly. You guys kind of covered the basic overview of what we know so far. Obviously, Porsche hasn't officially unveiled it, although I think the unveiling event is set for next month, sometime in like mid-November, if I'm not mistaken. But no doubt, this is a car that I think for anybody that's a sports car fan, but obviously a Porsche fan as well, they're going to be extremely excited for it. Any new RS car is a big deal in the Porsche and sports car world. And the fact that it seems like all the signs are pointing towards the fact that this is going to have a 4-liter flat six that is potentially transplanted or perhaps derived out of the 3RS is definitely something to be very, very excited about. Obviously, that engine is just fantastic in so many ways. And, if we see a Cayman that from the factory is, coming out of the production line with 500 plus horsepower, that's going to be really exciting. So, yeah. And it seems like, obviously we know it's going to rev to 9,000 for sure. It sounds just like the RS motor, as we mentioned previously, but also it seems like PDK is probably going to be the only gearbox, I'm guessing, because it's an RS car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hopefully in regards to the gearing, which tends to be a pretty common Cayman issue from what I hear, hopefully Porsche makes some adjustments with the PDK gearbox and, dials in the gearing towards track use. But at the same time, I do hold some skepticism because obviously they have the 911, they have the GT3 and the GT3 RS, and there has to be some sort of a hierarchy with those cars. So it's like this Porsche can never, there's like this conspiracy theory that a lot of enthusiasts have that Porsche can never truly dial in or optimize the Cayman for full-on performance because it would actually surpass the 911.
Yeah, that's true. I really think so as well. I don't think they want to cannibalize their own,
yeah, exactly.
Bread and butter with the 911.
The term I was looking for. Yeah.
Going back to the gearing, I don't think they're gonna. I mean, no RS car has had a manual since the 997 GT3 RS, but
correct.
I don't think that they're going to put any type of manual gearbox in this car. And I'm telling you, man, looking at this video, it doesn't look like it's revving any slower than a GT3 or GT3 RS would to 9,000 RPM. So I think that's very promising.
And the other thing is too, it would make sense that it would get the 3RS motor because there's only one other 4-liter flat six engine that Porsche makes, which is the one that's in the Cayman GTS and then the Cayman GT4 non-RS.
Yep.
But that is not the same 4-liter that's used in the GT3 RS. That's derived from the 991.2 Carrera, the 3-liter turbocharged engine.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't rev to 9,000 RPM.
I was just about to say
so that. Porsche is not going to develop a brand new 4-liter engine that revs to 9,000 just for the GT4 RS. They're most likely going to be pulling it from an existing car already, which is going to be the 3RS. So I think, like we said, it definitely seems like that's definitely going to be the case.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to, like you said, develop the Cayman's own motor, especially if we know that the Cayman is just the stepchild. I mean, it would just not make any sense for the stepchild to get a full-on different motor than the rest of the lineup.
And just from like a development cost, it just makes no sense for them to do the R&D for a brand new engine only to put it in one car.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that cost alone to build a full-on race motor like that would probably be ridiculous. To do the R&D just like that for that car again. But
100%.
What's the power, guys?
What's
I was going to ask them real quick in regards to GT4 RS. What's the power right now on the new 992 GT3? What is it? Just a little bit over 500 horsepower?
It should be about 520.
I believe so.
Let me see.
So I'm gonna call it now. If that's the case. I honestly do not think the GT4 RS will have more than 500 horsepower. That's going to be my guess. I think it'll be higher revving, but it's not going to exceed 500 horsepower.
What? Let's see.
So I just looked it up. It says the 2022 or the 992 puts out 502 horsepower.
Yep.
Oh wow.
So I don't think, in my opinion, I do not think that even though it's an RS, it is not going to exceed that 500 horsepower. Because at that point, it's like, why am I going to go buy a GT3 for? I can go pick up this pretty cool, radical looking.
Yeah, that's true.
4RS, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
I think it looks
400 for sure.
I mean, it looks
definitely
amazing. So it's just very different. You know, we're talking about the Z06 earlier about how that one looks, and then you look at the GT4RS, and you're like, wow. It's just the way it's put together. It just looks like it's meant to be that. Right?
So with the GT4RS, is it a whole new chassis, or is it just building off I believe the 718 chassis?
Yeah, they're building off the 718.
Out for a couple years. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you understand that the front and rear components, suspension components, are off the GT3. I believe that's how the GT4 is built today, right?
Yeah. I think the info surrounding that is a little bit
in the dark.
Exactly. The info surrounding the suspension right now, and all that is sort of up in the air, obviously, because Porsche hasn't said anything officially. But I think it's going to be very interesting to hypothesize, what it's going to have. If it's going to borrow suspension from the 992 GT3, or if it's going to, I'm honestly not sure.
Front and rear double wishbone, dude, Jesus Christ, bro! Like. You can forget any GT3 before this, and just go straight with that car.
Right. And Porsche's not gonna shoot themselves in the foot, man. They're not gonna do that, because that would take away a lot from that. I think the GT3 market, and come over. And then you think about price too. I think it's gonna be price like $130K or something like that. So again, markup.
Yeah.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if these things reach. $180.
Oh, dude, I'm not gonna be surprised if they're at $250.
Maybe more, right? Yeah. I mean, that's wild.
Because you think about a 992 GT3, a non-RS car has a $100,000 markup on average right now. And that RS, everyone's gonna want just like they want every other RS, and that's gonna be another $100,000 markup. I don't see any doubts about that. So, I can't see these cars being anything less than $200,000. Which is pretty insane, but at the same time, like, you're getting a fucking GT4 RS, badass car, mid-engine, hopefully a GT3 derived motor or an exact GT3 motor, and it's a RS. Like, what else you need to say? Hey, you already sold me when you said RS, so I don't think there's really much else.
And then the price tag comes along, and you go, oh, Z06, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. That's why my Askew's buying these Corvettes.
I'm looking at some of the spy photos of this thing right now, and it looks so like menacing for a Cayman. It has I don't know. Is this like? Could you call this like a swan neck, like a mini swan neck wing that it has?
Swan neck.
Okay.
The massive duct for the .2. I don't know if you guys have the pictures up right now, but on the rear quarter panel windows, it has vents.
Oh, yeah, I see that. They're like louvered. What the hell?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's for just the test or if that's going to be,
interesting.
Car.
That would be
they didn't give it louvered front fenders as well.
Yes,
yeah, I'm looking at that right now.
And then
it doesn't look like it has the louvered front fenders, but it looks like it has hood vents, unless I'm just mistaken.
It has the knock ducts
in front. The back duct or the front brake ducts.
Yeah, it's getting the front fender louvers as well. It's just that this is a pre-production car, and they don't want to show exactly what it's going to look like. So they've already confirmed that.
Exactly, yeah.
But those plastic window, I'm pretty sure they're plastic. I've never seen a glass window for ventilation like that. If that's getting like that style of glass or plastic ABS, whatever the fuck it's called, then
like polycarbonate.
Yeah, polycarb windows. If the GT4 is getting it, then we know that the GT3 will get it, which is going to be fucking insane too. That factory cars are coming with polycarb windows now with vents for, you know, getting in air.
Yeah.
And it's just
the Alfa Romeo, I mean, I don't want to sidetrack here, but the GTA M or whatever, the like super hardcore track version of the Giulia, it has polycarbonate windows from factory. So it's something that some manufacturers at least are stepping into with their vehicles.
Well, even the .2 GT4RS has for the rear windows as a package, or I think it might be standard, but they're not glass. They're whatever. Like I could go to my car and press in on it, and it will bulge like noticeably.
Oh, that's crazy.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
that's wild. I knew the GT3s ran lightweight glass, but I mean that's still glass. Polycarb is a whole nother level of race car dedication.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
All right, let's transition into our final topic. I forgot what it was. We're talking about the M2?
G87.
Oh, yeah. The G87. I put G82 M2. Fucking retard. So the G87 M2, we have some info on it now. It's going to be offered in a manual or a 8-speed automatic fucking slush box. It'll be offered... what else? What else did they say? All-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive, right?
Rear-wheel drive only.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh,
dope.
Yeah, rear-wheel drive only for the M2.
Okay, and have they confirmed what the front end looks like? No.
There have been supposed spy images of like leaked front end shots, which don't look very promising. I'll be honest, but. You know,
actually TV girls, but just like flat out rectangular.
Yes, exactly. Very like rectangular, like vents and stuff. It looks interesting.
Yeah,
talking up the buck teeth like G80, but it's still it's not my cup of tea.
No, definitely not mine either. But I really want to give this car the benefit of the doubt. So I'm trying to like hold all my judgments until the car does get released. I think they're going to unveil it later this year. Towards the end of the year, but apparently the car it's not going to. So this new M2 it's not going to be dogged like the original M2 when it came out with the F80 and the F82. So it's supposed to get like carbon fiber roof as standard. The interior is not supposed to be like watered down. It's going to have all the adjustable M options for your suspension, exhaust, brakes, all that. And it seems like the suspension setup as well and the powertrain from the M3 and the M4 G80 is just going to be carried over into this new M2. So like Gabe was saying, 455 horsepower with a 6-speed manual. That definitely is, those are all the things that we want to hear as enthusiasts. So I'm pretty happy to hear that at least.
Yeah, I mean, this was my biggest thing, right, with the G80 and the G82 when it was first being, the information was being pushed out and it was about to be released. I really was hyped about everything we were hearing. I wasn't hyped about the ZF 8-speed. That was the only thing I wasn't hyped about. But everything else, I was super hyped about, and I even considered buying one. But, I didn't think that grille would be the deal breaker for me, and honestly, it was a combination of the grille being fucking hideous, and the way it drove was just too docile, too tame, too like fucking boring. Honestly, I drove the car and it felt like a stock F80, but like when the F80 first came out, people were talking about it's numb and it pumps in sound.
The G80 is like on another level of like.
Yeah, it even goes even
synthetic.
further than that, bro. Because now you don't have the excitement of the DCT gearbox, which is a big factor when you're hauling ass. Like that kick that we've had since the E92 generation. That's pretty dope. To have that gone now, I feel like we got stripped of a little bit more enthusiast hardcore parts that we actually love and like a lot with this car. So yeah, going back to the G82 or the G87, I'm just praying to God that it's not going to let me down, because this is pretty much my final straw with BMW. I just, everything since the F8X release has just been fucking terrible, except for the M2. So what, the M8, like, Jesus Christ, man, that was miserable.
Like, who bought that? Like, no one bought those cars.
Yeah, no
I know. I feel like it's been a flop in terms of sales. Yeah.
I'm trying to hype those motherfuckers up, bro.
They were stopping production of that car.
Yeah, no,
the M8.
Yeah,
yeah, like,
yeah,
I
it's
think
done.
like maybe a year,
Wow.
like a year ago, they're like, okay, we're done.
Yeah, they pulled the plug on the M8, the M8 program for IMSA and any racing really, which was a blessing because that car was slow as dog shit on every track except for Daytona. But yeah, man, I hopefully the M2 just brings back some greatness from BMW, and I have a pretty good feeling it will. You think about the F80 M2 comp. When that came out, even the regular OG M2, when that first came out, people were hyped about that, and it was pretty successful. But when the M2 comp finally came out, with all the people that praised the S55's performance with the short wheelbase of the M2, I mean, it was just kind of perfect match, So, yeah, hopefully it doesn't let us down.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you said, Gabe, about how the M2 is kind of like your final straw with BMW. I think for a lot of people, they're feeling the same way, about the brand. I feel like just from an enthusiast standpoint, a lot of the performance cars that BMW has released as of lately have just not really hit the mark, I guess, with what people are looking for. And I think the M2 is a very important car for BMW, at least for the purist segment of like buyers. Yeah. That really are looking for the most like engaging sports car that BMW can offer. I think also transitioning from the F87 platform, that car set the bar so freaking high. If you look at the M2 competition, the M2 CS, the design of that car, the performance that it has. This new M2 obviously has a lot to live up to, but it's a video that I'm planning on making for my channel, just discussing it, because I think people don't realize for BMW and the M division, this car is extremely important.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like legit for a lot of people, like you mentioned before. Like I said, it's for a lot of people the last straw. This is like it before you just finally give up on BMW, because it's just been a shit show for so long. Everything from the Kith fucking collab that we were talking about earlier today to
what's that?
The Kith M cars, the G80 Kith. Okay, now Kith. That's a fucking joke, man. That is like a legit slap in the face for any enthusiast. And I think a lot of them took offense to that, based off of how they didn't listen to anybody's feedback on that ugly ass fucking grill. I mean, we can go back to the first time we saw the front end of that car on BMW's Instagram, and you just go to the comment section, and it is a roast fest. It is fucking insane how many people are just talking shit. So, like, how do you turn a blind eye to that, but then you want to go ahead and do a collab with some fucking clothing brand that, dudes with Supreme fanny packs and $1,000, what are the fucking, those jeans called? Fucking, I don't even know, bro. I don't even fucking know.
Look, guys,
I'm just getting off topic.
Guys, look, money talks, bullshit walks, right?
True.
And that's what 100%. That is, man. I mean, that's what that is, So,
but
we can complain about the brand and what they've done, but at the end of the day, very simple. Money talks, bullshit walks.
But see, here's my thing. Here's my counter to that is that was it about money, or was it about BMW trying to cater or pitch a product towards a younger audience? I don't know.
In my opinion, I mean, if they're trying to cater to a younger audience, I don't think they're doing it right. You know what I mean? The design and everything else that goes along with it, it doesn't fit the bill for me. That's just my opinion. If you're trying to go for a younger audience, I think what they're trying to go for is a more an audience that's a lot more well off, if that makes sense. Someone who has deeper pockets, and this is why we see what they did with the M4 and the the M3. It was to cater to specific market.
Yeah, I think
you could research it all you want. It's been told us who we're trying to reach.
Robert Mitchell kind of touched on that. He said, BMW is changing. Like BMW M is changing more from a brand that was built on racing, and now they're moving towards a brand that's just turning into like a lifestyle, like a status image.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and I understand, like, to some degree they have to adapt, right? They're a company at the end of the day. They have to turn over a profit, be profitable, whatever. But, do I agree with the way that they've executed that strategy? No.
Fuck no.
I don't agree with it. So, but, bringing the conversation back to the M2, there's two things that I was reading about on Bimmer Post as well.
Get so far off topic.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess when you're BMW is kind of a brand you care about, I guess it's just easy to go on a tangent. But there are two things that also with the M2 BMW does not seem to be including with the G87, and this is not confirmed, but it seems it's highly likely. Carbon ceramic brakes will not be an option, which is not a big deal at all, honestly, especially for tracking.
Flex fucking option.
Exactly. But it seems that the M2 will not have the option to get the M carbon bucket seats, which I think is...
get the fuck out of here. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
It says right here, it says those ceramic brakes and carbon bucket seem to be missing off the list. All the drivetrain and suspension components are the same as G82, and even carbon fiber roof will be an option. But if there's no carbon buckets in the M2... that's just a huge opportunity that they're missing.
I know. Okay, all right, we're going to make it more exclusive and put it on the M2 CS that we're going to have coming out in fucking 5 years.
Yeah, they're going to do some bullshit like that.
You could legit sell way more fucking units by putting those seats in the cars now. What the fuck?
Seriously. Or maybe they're doing this thing where, like, they don't want to alienate the M3 and the M4, because maybe if they put carbon buckets, then the M2 will be such a hot item, like it'll have so much of a value proposition that people are not going to want to buy the M4. So the way that they incentivize people to get the next model up is by saying, look, you can get carbon bucket seats in the M4, but not in the M2. That's also what I'm thinking. But I think it's freaking stupid. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a big fail. If that's the case, and if that's the case, I would also question, I don't know too many people who are tracking these heavy ass tanks that you're giving us now. Give us the bucket seats and the lighter, more nimble M2.
For real.
Mm-hmm. These options are now becoming more of a show car item rather than an actual functional thing that maybe it is just looked at as, well, we know they're going to want the guys who want to ball out are going to want the carbon ceramic brakes and the carbon fiber bucket seats. So let's not, put everything into the M2, which, I mean, the M2 hasn't had CCBs ever, right? It's always been steels, no?
Only in the CS they got offered with CCBs.
No shit. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then it's always had the competition seats, but never had one that came out with the GTS bucket seats, right? I don't think so.
Correct. Yeah, I don't believe so.
I mean, hopefully that's not the case, because that's just fucking pathetic. And then hopefully we get some individual colors with the M2 as well, because that would be dope to see some M2 comps with some individual colors.
I definitely agree. They need to spice up the M2 product lineup more and just offer more customizability. They didn't do that with the F80 and I think that was a big opportunity that they missed.
Yeah, I do. I got so tired of seeing fucking Hockenheim silver. Bro, I was so... that color was so gorgeous when it came out. Yeah, those colors were so gorgeous when they came out, but there are just so many of them that it's like, fuck, it's not even special anymore, bro. It's like, okay, you have like one of a fucking million.
Exactly.
I don't think I've ever seen in person an individual color M2C. Was that even an option?
No, there is
I
not.
don't think so.
No,
Yeah, I don't.
It's just the
exactly.
5 colors. It's
literally
sunset
white,
orange,
black, and Hockenheim. That's it.
white, black, Hockenheim, Long Beach blue, and sunset orange. The CS got the Misano blue color, which is beautiful. But yeah, that's the only other color I think. Yeah.
Alpine white, like Augie's.
Yeah, I mean, like how many have you seen?
Alpine white is with every fucking BMW.
Dog, like literally when I think of M2, I think of Alpine white M2s. Like that is the image that pops in my mind when I think of an M2. So, all right, well that's gonna be it. We've been talking for like 45 minutes. I know I'm trying to play some Warzone with you boys right now. So, who's gonna join me? Chris, you gonna play?
Let's go.
Okay, all right, Omar.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, are you guys looking to play like right now?
Yeah. Why not?
I'll probably hop on for like 1 or 2 games. Okay. I got some other things to do, but I can hop in for a little.
Jason,
gaming? What's that? What's gaming?
I haven't turned on my Xbox.
Here's another one.
6 months. I bet there's a shit ton of updates.
Dog. Just
I'll plug it in and check it out.
Yeah. Update your shit, and then tomorrow you should be ready to go.
We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, boys. Well, it was a good one. We'll talk some more later this week. Get another podcast going. We got a new segment coming out. It's going to be called. Actually, I'm going to hold off on the name because we might change it. But we're going to be comparing 2 builds, and one from Omar's following and one from my own. And then we're going to go ahead and dissect and go through the whole build, and at the end of the discussion we're going to talk about which one we would rather have and why we would rather have it. So I'm hoping to get some pretty dope ass cars to look at here. So yeah, that'll be for the next one. Other than that, appreciate you guys listening in, and catch you guys later this week. Peace.